Hello. Oh, hello, we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Wheel Talk. And do we have an episode for you today? We're not sure because we're winging it. We
Yeah.
turned up quite late. This is all like thrown together last minute. But sometimes these episodes are the best, so they're very
Yeah.
spontaneous. Brittany, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Brilliant. A little bit rushed. I just came back
Yeah.
from a work outing. I was bowling. I went bowling, which was nice. And then just genuinely, I was messaging Brittany saying I'm definitely going to be late, and then I wasn't late because I don't know. I guess I was just panicked over nothing. But I'm
Yeah,
here.
that's awesome. Do you like bowling in a wheelchair? Like, are you good at it?
Right. This is so random, right? But I came second. So like I'm not very good
Wow.
at it at all. But the first couple that I threw were gutter balls, and then I kind of just got a technique down, and then randomly like I started getting better, and other people started getting worse, and I looked at the scores. I was like, I think I came third. I was like, actually, I came second. No way. So I couldn't actually believe that I came second. But yeah, apparently I'm quite good at bowling. Or the other people suck. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, you never really know. I sometimes do well and sometimes don't do well. I can't really get because I'm always like trying to angle my chair properly, and then I sometimes throw it straight into the gutter. And then sometimes it like gets a spin on it and it'll like look like it's going into the gutter on the one side and then it'll spin and go in the other. I'm like,
Yeah.
I cannot figure it out. And I probably could if I bowled enough, but I've been like 5 times in 10 years or something like that. So it's just not
Yeah.
enough to actually like figure out what I'm doing wrong or right or, all the things. But it's a fun activity when you're in a wheelchair because it's fairly accessible, I think.
I completely agree. I've got
Yeah.
a funny thing to share with you, actually. There was a lady in a power chair who went,
Oh,
right? But she took the shoes.
that's
You know,
really funny.
when you go bowling, right? They give you bowling shoes. She took the bowling shoes, and I was like, why? I guess
Yeah.
maybe just for
To
laugh.
fit in. That's like when people wear like workout shoes at the gym, like really expensive running shoes at the gym and they're in a wheelchair. I'm like, did you just spend like $170 on shoes that you're not actually standing up in? Because I don't spend like tons of money on shoes. If it fits my feet and it like looks good, that's like my criteria, but it doesn't have to be like comfortable, like to a degree. I don't want my feet to be squished or anything, but yeah, it definitely doesn't have to have any sort of like performance rating for me to buy the shoes. And I think it's funny when people spend money on like Lululemon leggings that have like, sweat wicking properties. I guess some people do sweat when they sit in their wheelchair. So that might be fair. But yeah, I don't spend money on clothes. I buy everything at like thrift shops mostly.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, it was a great little afternoon out. I covered a shift for someone this morning at work, so I don't normally work Mondays. But then we all
Oh,
went out to the bowling alley, which was really great. And then there was pool as well. I'm quite good at pool. I've actually made some really good shots, but there are some shots that are just like really inaccessible. And we were playing doubles, and I said to my friend Luke, I was like, "You take this one, man. The ball's right in the middle of the table. It's quite hard." But the shots that I could made, I mean, I had a couple of good bowls, a couple of good shots in pool. I had a Burger King, and my first Burger King in many, many years, and I was pleasantly surprised. And all in all, it's been a wild afternoon. I made it back in time for the podcast. What a great day.
yeah. That's like one of those things where everything just falls into place. And sometimes time seems to slow down and just like everything works out the way it's supposed to. And that's always really cool when that happens to like where you're like, I don't know how I made it, but I did. And I did like all these things in this amount of time. And it feels like it's like that flow state kind of thing. So you had a flow day.
Yeah, it was a flow day. It was actually a really good flow day, actually. I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, I was getting to know the other people at work. So I know a lot of people in the office, but the drivers, because I work for a transfer company, so we do airport transfers. I don't know any of the drivers really, and I got to know them. One of them was really nice. He was like, "Oh, I really like you, Fred." And I was thinking it was like because of the wheelchair, and I was like preparing myself for like an awkward conversation. He was like, "No, it's just like you get me. Like every time we speak on the phone, you seem to be really nice, and the other people." Aren't as nice or whatever. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. That's actually really nice. Like, that's a kind compliment. And he was like, oh, I think, you seem like a really nice guy. And I was like, oh, cheers, bro. That's cool. So yeah, that was a nice compliment.
Yeah. Do you ever have that where you think people are only being nice to you because you're in a wheelchair? Like, do you ever second guess like whether somebody's genuinely being nice to you? I do that all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Like I was preparing myself for like,
Yeah.
I really like you, Fred, because I find you so inspirational, you know, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, cool. And then he was like, no, just because, you know, when we speak on the phone, you're always like the nicest guy in the office to speak to on the phone. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's completely un-wheelchair related and a very nice compliment. So thank you.
Yeah. I think that's why I like teaching junior high kids so much, because that is the one place that I know kids are never just being nice to me because I'm in a wheelchair. Like if they're in junior high, they mostly care about themselves.
Yeah.
And they do not, they're like, there's never one time where they're like, you're the best substitute in the world. And I'm like, why? And they're like, because you're in a wheelchair. Like they never say that.
Yeah.
They're always just like, you sit at recess and talk to us about, you know, our weekend or whatever. Like they say whatever it is that they like about me, and it's never the wheelchair. So I love that. And I think as you know, people get older, that inspiration conversation comes up a lot. And it's kind of like we almost want to make them feel better about telling us we're inspirational, so we're nice to them about it. And not that I would ever be mean to somebody for being, you know, trying to be polite. It's just like we're appeasing them to make them feel good about trying to make us feel good. Do you know what I mean? It's like such a weird thing.
Yeah. I completely get it. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it was
yeah. No, that's good.
just a really lovely day so far, and had a pretty good weekend too. I made a new YouTube video, which I took a lot of inspiration from the feedback. I think on the last episode I mentioned that Benji felt like my last video was like a bit too curated, and we spoke about how ChatGPT was helping me form the narrative, and I got some cinematic shots of like me boosting through the woods with my 360 camera. And you know, a lot of you said, and Brian said, you know, I get what Benji's saying. Like people tune into your videos just to hear you talk about things. You know, we don't really need it too polished, which was almost like a backhanded compliment. It was lovely to hear that I don't need to make that much effort with my videos. But also it's like a kick in the dick when you spend 17 hours editing a video and you're like, oh, thanks a lot. You know, you know, you don't need the bells and whistles, but I'm like, oh, but look at my bells and whistles.
Yeah, exactly. I like it. Yeah, I think there's a place for both, but I really liked the video that you just did. If anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, he did a video basically talking about his dream life and it being on the other side of his paralysis and all the things that have wonderfully occurred since his injury. And I think it's really an interesting conversation because you obviously can't go and live two lives to see whether you would feel the exact same way at this exact age and be maybe not with Chris, but with another person that you feel equally in love with, and all these things. You can't live two lives to know whether your dream life would have happened anyway. But yeah, it's one of those things that you go like, would you take it back? Did this stuff happen because of my wheelchair? All these crazy questions that, you know, we don't really have an answer for, but are super fun to talk about. And you did a really good job of explaining why you believe that you live your dream life now. And it's really cool that you found a piece of paper. He found a piece of paper that he had written a long time ago with all these cool descriptions of like himself, his future like girlfriend, wife, whatever. Oh, he has the paper. So yeah, you should share some of that because I thought it was really cool. So you guys should go watch the video if you haven't watched the video. It's a very good it's a good reminder that like in the title of this YouTube video I put that sometimes your biggest dreams are waiting on the other side of your biggest nightmare, and that's kind of what happened for you, I think.
Yeah, I loved the title. As soon as I saw the title of the podcast, I was like, "Oh, that's amazing! I should have called my YouTube video that." But yeah. So basically, I took the advice and I thought, well, instead of creating a video that takes me many hours to edit, I was like, I did a one take. Edited it within 1 hour and uploaded it. I was like, it's easy. It's just like I just speak into the camera, and it was inspired by, you know, Jessie Strawham, the paraplegic lady. She's on Instagram. She was saying how her spinal cord injury was the best thing that ever happened to her. And I thought, oh, I'll just ask myself that question and I'll just talk. And I had a gummy, which kind of helps me loosen up a little bit. So I was just speaking to the camera really without any sort of end point. But I really loved the way like the narrative created itself, because I found this piece of paper like just before recording it, because I was trying to like dim this light in front of me, And it was something I wrote many, many years ago about like my life partner, all the things I wanted to do, like with myself and my friends and my life purpose. And, you know, spoiler alert, I've accidentally nailed my dream life. And I was just like just listing off all these things that I live every day. And I'm like, holy smokes, like this was my dream life I dreamed of. Obviously I didn't put, you know, in a wheelchair, but I could, you know, could have been a little bit more specific there, but,
Yeah.
but I'm nailing it. And I just thought it was a pretty cool vid, because I kind of thought that, yeah, like I didn't realize that my spinal cord injury possibly might have been the best thing that ever happened to me, because, you know, I am living my dream life now. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
And I think like, you know, say like day 10 after your spinal cord injury, to, you know, have somebody tell you like, just wait, like you're going to feel like you're living your dream life. You know, how long have you been paralyzed? It was 6 years, right? 6 years. It's 6 years this year, right?
6 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So 6 years later, 6 years from now, don't worry, you're going to feel like, you know, you're living your dream life. And that probably would have felt like an eternity back then, to be like, oh, I have to wait 6 years. Like, why can't I have it right away? But, and then I think like the other thing that sometimes we forget, and Joe and I were talking about this on the weekend, because we were driving around, we found this acreage that Joe really wants. It's very expensive, but it's exactly what we've kind of wanted for years. And the price of it would have been like insanely out of reach for us for like years and years and years. And now it's still kind of out of reach. It's still one of those things. It's like, it would be a big stretch, but, we were just driving around and like talking about how all the things that we wanted, we basically have now. And, you know, we don't have like the most beautiful house or anything like that, but like Joe wanted to be the manager at the factory that he works at. And I wanted to have 10,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, like, you know, and now I have more than that. And all these things that like, we were like, oh, if we could just like have this, and then we could just make this much money, and we could do this and have that. And we pretty much have all the things. And sometimes we kind of forget about it, and we get like grumpy about it. Like Joe will get super grumpy about his job, and then he'll be like, you know, I asked for this. It was my dream, and I asked for it. And I'm like, you know, complaining about the thing that I dreamed about. And so I think sometimes we have to remember that our dream life doesn't always look, and it's not always going to feel like what we think it's going to feel like. There's never going to be like, just like we've arrived and everything is pure bliss. That's not how life works. But it's cool when you reflect on, you know, what you wish you had and realize that you really got most of it. And I think that's really cool that life kind of hands us really great things. And if we don't take the time to appreciate it, then we can just kind of forget about it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I've got like a Post-it note on the wall by the mirror, and it says, "You used to dream of this. Like this life is you used to dream about living this life." And it's a really lovely reminder to think that, yeah, I did used to dream about living. When I first got injured, I was like, I was looking at people online, like Richard from Wheels to Walking. Shout out the merch today. I'm repping.
Oh.
But, I was I'd be like, oh my God, I would love to live a life like Richard. I would love to be like, you know, fit and healthy like Richard. I'd love to be able to move my wheelchair, like wheelie down a hill. And, you know, I was looking at all these paraplegics that were very inspirational. And now I look at them and I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. Like it's so weird, but you take it for granted. I guess when you reach your goals, you sometimes, it's natural to like move the goalposts and be like, oh, well, you know, well, that's easy. I want this now, you know, like, but you've got to realize how far you've come. And that's why I think a gratitude practice is so handy, to be like, oh, I'm so grateful for the life I'm living right now. Because I think, like a lot of people probably living like their dream life, like they probably dreamt a long time ago of having the things that they have now. And sometimes people just look to the next one.
Yeah, I know. I think that's human nature, especially people that are motivated individuals. They move the goalpost and don't ever really take the time to appreciate where they actually arrived. And I think that's kind of sad. It's a good thing, because I think we need to, you know, have something to strive for in order to stay, you know, purposeful and motivated and all that stuff. But I also think that there's like this hustle culture that is really negative and detrimental to our, not only our health, but our mental health and just society in general. Like, it's making everybody compare each other to each other. It's making us feel like shit if we don't have all these shiny objects that are all around us. If we're not traveling, overseas a million times a year. Like, I know some teachers that I teach with, they go on 2 holidays because we live in a shitty warm or a shitty cold place in the wintertime. They go on 2 holidays every wintertime. And they go to like Cuba and somewhere else. And I'm just like, how are you affording this? And I always assume that they make tons of money, but maybe they don't. Maybe they're just like stressed out to the nines and they're in debt up to their eyeballs and all that stuff. But that comparison trap. And I can't remember like what he called it, but that podcast, remember the like 100 or the 11 lessons? It was maybe 11 lessons.
Yeah.
From his like 100th show or something, 900th show. He said something about it was like de-escalating. Like there's like an intentional, like not doing everything to the best of your ability. Cause like everybody's like, if you're going to do it to the best of your ability. And he was like, there's like this, and I can't remember who said it. But it's an intentional, like, I'm not going to do this the best. I'm going to actually do this thing really mediocre. And then I'm going to save my best for something else. And I think that was like really profound. Because especially for people that are perfectionists, you need to be able to be like, yeah, I'm not going to learn about that. I'm going to just, kind of know a little bit about that and not really care too much about figuring it out. Because sometimes I feel if there's people talking about like politics or like world history or something like that, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know anything about that war that happened, 400 years ago. Like, what's wrong with me? I better get a library book. And then I'm like, do I really want to spend time learning about that? I'm like, no, I don't care.
Yeah, I get it. I just want to acknowledge this comment. Greg has said, truth is, everything you do is twice as hard as when you were able-bodied. So no, it's not a dream life. Being able-bodied again and healthy is a dream life. I just want to acknowledge that like my personal experience is unique to me. And I guess without like seeing the video, you're only getting like a very brief overview. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes being in a wheelchair sucks, and having a disability really does make life objectively a lot harder. And I did acknowledge that in the video. It's just it struck me by surprise as I was filming the video, like reading this dream life, that I'd actually got so many things, and perhaps it would have happened again, like Brittany said, regardless of me being in a wheelchair or whatever. But it was interesting to realize that like the life I dreamt of many years ago, I ticked all the boxes. I never wrote down on my dream life, but please don't let me be in a wheelchair, and I think like all the things that I got in my life, I wouldn't give them up, like to be able-bodied again. Like, I'm not saying being able-bodied isn't amazing, because I remember it was objectively better, but there are loads of able-bodied people that are like chronically depressed, and like I'm probably the happiest I've ever been. So yeah, if I could trade, I wouldn't trade my abilities, for my misery. I would keep my happiness.
Yeah, I know that's a really hard one, because I just, even yesterday, my bladder was irritating me. And so I was like worried because I had to go for dinner, and I was like drinking a bunch and trying to like, make sure I didn't get a UTI and stuff. And then I just like looked at Jamie, who is like laying in bed, my 12-year-old like daughter, just like chilling, not even worried about anything. She's been watching like Grey's Anatomy for like weeks, trying to watch every episode. And she just like laid in bed lazily all day watching this show. Then I think she got up to pee like once. She didn't worry about anything. She was like stretching. And I was like, I want that so bad. Like, where I don't have to worry about anything. Cause I didn't feel good the night before. And I like had to get up in the morning to do my bowel routine, even though I felt really nauseous. And in the middle of the night, I had to pee once, and I just couldn't sleep very well. And I was just like, oh my God. And I was laying on the one side, my shoulder was hurting. And I was just like, I just want to have that, like, bliss when you're like 10 to 12 years old, where you don't have any pain whatsoever. You sleep as long as you want, you eat whatever you want, and never worry about anything. And like, that would be so nice to go back to that. But I don't think that is ultimately like what gives us confidence or anything. And I think the more struggle that you go through with having like a grateful heart, then I think your life is almost better than if you didn't. Because I think there's so many people that live such a sheltered life and they feel so terrible about themselves because they never have any challenges that they have to overcome. And that's really where empowerment comes from. Like empowerment is being able to face something, come out on the other side, knowing that you did that, and then being able to like do it again and have the confidence that, hey, if that ever happens again, I can handle it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't come with just like, you know, an easy life. It would still be really nice to be able-bodied and go to the gym and be able to get a six-pack and, you know, all that fun stuff. But yeah, I think thinking about that is dangerous. Like when thinking about it too much is dangerous
Yeah.
for your mental
Well, they
health.
say comparison is the thief of joy, right? So
Mhm.
and it's true. It's true because I do that sometimes as well. Like not like I get jealous of people's small movements. It's not like I'm not jealous of a gymnast who can do a triple backflip. I'm jealous of the way Chris can like stretch her body. Like the
Yeah.
smallest amount. I'm like, oh, if only I could do that. But that little bit, I
Yeah.
would just like it would just I would just to stand up and stretch. And even if I could like take 15 minutes a day off of being disabled just to have a good stretch and then get back in my wheelchair, it'd be amazing. But it's just it's just 24/7. It's relentless.
I know. And then I think like when I get in those like moods, I think about my friend Tash who like every time I whine about stuff, she's like, dude, like you just got in the car and drove to my house all by yourself. Like shut the fuck up. Like she
Yeah,
literally
yeah,
says
yeah.
that to me all the time. She's like, shut up. Because she's got like two fingers that she can pinch that she can like actually use. Her one arm is okay, but she can pinch two fingers to like pick some food up and stuff. But you know, and even that compared to like my friend Travis, who has no hand function at all or even any arm function, like when you go to that extreme and you see that each little thing that we can do is like amazing and so much gives somebody so much more independence, then it's hard to put in it's hard to feel ungrateful for what you have, I think.
Yeah. I think like some people use us paraplegics, like able-bodied people use us paraplegics as the example, like, oh, and then and then us paraplegics look at the quadriplegics, be like, oh, well, at least
Yeah.
it's so weird, like this like hierarchy
Yeah.
of disability, and like, yeah, it's I do feel bad because I know that like I feel bad when I look at people that are more disabled than me and be like, oh, well, at least I'm not that bad. But I feel bad because like I don't want to. I know how that feels on the other, like
Yeah,
when people
me
do it to
too.
me. So like, yeah, I'm sort of in the middle of that hierarchy. I'm like, well,
It's a really hard mental game because I don't want to ever feel sorry for my friends that, you know, are more like higher level paralysis than I am, because I think they live amazing lives. And if it weren't for them, like because I have a syrinx, which is like a cyst in my spinal cord, and it can get worse at any time. And I can lose my hand function. And the only reason that I know that I'll be okay if that happens is because I have friends like Tash and Travis and people that are happy and purposeful and like they do cool stuff, even though they're paralyzed higher than I am. And I just know that I'll be fine because I have people like that around me that show me that no matter what your life looks like or what your disability looks like, you have a choice about how you think and how you act and what your life ultimately feels like, right? So yeah, I know it's such a weird thing because we do the same thing to people that, you know, have higher levels of injury than we do,
yeah.
which is bad.
Absolutely. I just want to thank you so much for bringing up the video. I was really happy about it. We can move on and talk about something else, but like I just wanted to go back and say that it's nice to go back to the more simpler videos because it's a relief to be like, oh, I can
Yeah.
just upload my thoughts and not have to spend hours and hours editing a video. And on that note, actually, I wanted to jump to something. Do you ever feel? Again, it's a little bit of a negativity bias because I know that you and I both get like many lovely comments on our videos, but like out of 99 comments, we've spoken about this before. If one is like negative, it kind of sticks in your mind, like that negativity bias.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to Brian recently, who made a lovely. He's back on YouTube. He's making videos again. He spent like €1,000 on a new MacBook so he could edit his videos nicer. He spent ages editing this video, and then the first comment was like a negative one. And it really got to him, and he messaged me, and I was like, dude, welcome back to YouTube. Like, this is the game that we play. I don't know why we do it, you know, like it's ultimately sometimes really rewarding, but then also like, why? Like, he's he's got a lovely MacBook, but you know, he's like spent $1,000 in the hole. He's like, you know, hours and hours, his whole Saturday he spent editing a video just to have like this shitty comment that brought him down. He was like, fuck YouTube. I was like, I know.
Yeah. I definitely, I was just talking to Joe about there's annoying comments. So I get annoying comments because I have like videos. One of the top videos right now is on like the first video I did about questions about sex. And I've had like multiple guys on there be like, I'll give it a go. Like, if he can't give you an orgasm, maybe I can try. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm just like, and then I'll comment, I'm like, in your dreams, LOL. And then the one guy was like, yeah, so, and I'm like, ew, I'm not having this conversation. Goodbye. So those comments are annoying, or people don't watch the video. Like, I just did another video about like questions I got from a subscriber about sex. And I literally, like, five of the questions I answered in the video, people asked the question under in the comments. And like, you didn't even watch the video. You just like saw the title. This girl's open to talk about sex. I'm going to ask this question. And I'm just like, oh my God. So those things annoy me. But they're not negative comments. They're just people that don't watch the video. They just comment something. And then there's the negative comments that like, and they're not always like necessarily negative. They just like knock what you're trying to do. I had a girl basically say, stop telling everybody that everybody in wheelchairs has incontinence and has to stick their finger up their butt to poop, because that's not the case. And she was like, it's just annoying that you think everybody has to know all of our personal information. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, fair. I'm not, everybody has to do this stuff. I'm like, I'm used to speaking from my own perspective. And I would say like 90% of people that are paralyzed have to stick their finger up their butt to poop, and they're incontinent every once in a while. So I'm like, I don't think it's an unfair thing to share that information with the general public. But I'm like, I'm not telling you have to tell strangers about your bowel and bladder. Like, you're getting mad at me for telling my truth. And then I'm helping other people to be not shameful to tell their truth. But somehow you're getting mad at me for saying it. So in case, I don't know, in case her friends watch or something, she doesn't want them to know. Like, it's strange when people get mad at you for doing something you feel is helpful. So I was like, okay. And it wasn't really a negative comment. She was just like, stop saying that. You're painting us all with the same brush. And I'm like, okay. So there's those kind of comments, but I remember them. And there's like thousands of good comments, but I remember the bad ones.
Yeah, there was this one particular. So the one, I'm going to say it, but like the one particular comment that like got under Brian's skin. I was like, I recognized the person who's commented that, and I blocked them from my channel because they would say they weren't intentionally trolling. They would just focus on the wrong thing. And I think possibly like maybe have a touch of the tism, you know, I don't know, but like, it's just, you just focus on the wrong thing, and then you just say something that's got nothing to do with the video. And it kind of just like, in the end, I just blocked them. I will name and shame afterwards. I'm not going to do it publicly because I know that person comments on your videos too. But I was like, I get it. And I had enough, you know, like I was just like every some of them were nice comments. Again, I don't think they were intentional, but like every now and then I just be like, oh, really? Like, and then in the end, I think I accidentally did it. Actually, I put hide user from channel, and then that just means all of the comments that person had ever made disappear, and they can comment and they can see it come up, but like no one will ever see it.
Oh,
so
that's interesting. I'm so curious now. I have somebody in my mind. So I'm so curious if it's that person, but it's really irritating, but that's like you get being on YouTube or just in the public eye in general. And if we're willing to put our lives on YouTube and talk about the things that we talk about, then I guess that it's par for the course. But it is really annoying. It is really annoying. And it's disheartening because I think a lot of people just think that it's like nothing, like editing a video or coming up with like what you're going to say in a video or any of the work it takes. And sometimes, like you say, if it's just a talk to the camera video where you know exactly what you want to say, you don't really have to think about it too much. It's not that crazy. Like, it might take, a couple hours at most. But even that, for a video that might make $10, because I'm like monetized and I do make money on my videos, but it might make $10 over the course of 6 months. So the 2 hours that I spent making that video, even though it wasn't super time intensive, I'm like making like, it's worse than a sweatshop in some third world country. Like, it's just terrible. So, but yeah, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't do it.
The other thing that annoys me is the fact that I get annoyed about it. I'm like, why can I not just be that sort of guy that's just like, oh, there's that person again, like, just being a wally. Like, why do I let it like get under my skin? Why don't I just, I hate that negativity bias, I'm susceptible to it. Like, whereas like the 99 wonderful comments saying, oh, you're amazing, we love that video, it's great, you're such a legend. They fill me up, they pump me up. But why do I let that one, troll like just push my button? That annoys me, because that's a feedback loop of like, they've annoyed me, but now I'm annoyed that I'm annoyed.
Yeah, totally. That's how you're enlightened, when you get annoyed and you're like, oh, I recognize that I'm in this mood, and why am I in this mood? And then you're trying to get curious about it, and you're like, like, it's just annoying. But I think it's natural. I think it's totally natural for that to happen. And sometimes I actually have to take a step back from the comment and read it objectively, not like in the way that I would read it as me. I have to like read it and be like, is this actually saying anything bad about me or my content? And sometimes it's not really. Like, even the comment that I just said, where she was like, stop painting us all with the same brush, she said it very nicely. Like, she didn't say those exact words. That's just how I took it. Because she was just like, not everybody has to do that. And I don't feel comfortable telling people all of these things, and not everybody does. So maybe you shouldn't make people feel bad for not telling people what they don't want to share. And so she was very kind about it. It's just, I took it as like, I'm now doing something detrimental by helping people feel more comfortable talking about their bowel and bladder, instead of doing something helpful. And when you make then it just, I got in my own head about it. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing as a content creator, but I feel so grateful. I went to dinner with friends last night who didn't know that they're kind of like new friends. So we have lots to talk about in terms of our lives, and how we met our spouses and all kinds of stuff like that. And the topic of the podcast came up, and they were asking questions about it, and like, how did you even meet this guy all the way across the world and all that stuff. And I said, we have like 20 or 30 loyal like people that watch, and it's like, and I was like so excited, genuinely excited about it. Because we really do have, I feel like, the best, most loyal fans. And even if I had like, 2 of them, that would still make me feel good. So thank you to all of you that are the loyal, kind, accepting fans that allow us to be who we are, and not, judge us about it. Because
it's interesting. I had a chat with my friend or a work colleague, Craig. He was just giving me a lift back from bowling, and he was like, "Oh, what have you got to go back for?" I was like, "Oh, I do a podcast." And he's like, "Oh, what's your podcast about?" I was like, "It's called Wheel Talk." And he's like, "Oh, what do you guys talk about?" I was like, "Well, we just talk about like life in a wheelchair." He's like, what kind of stuff? And I was like, and I ended up kind of roundabout telling him like about selling pictures of my feet. And he was like, "You do what?" And I was like, well, I mean, it all started when Brittany like, encouraged me to start a Patreon. And then I started a Patreon. And then I got propositioned about some pictures of my feet. And he was just like, you made how much money? And I was like, yeah, I know. He's like, oh, I got to tune into your podcast. It sounds really interesting. I was like, yeah, I mean, we do have quite an engaged audience. I was like, some of our episodes have got like over 1,000 listens, and between the 2 channels, and like we get people tuning in live, which is really amazing. And then people listen on Spotify afterwards, and he's like, "Oh, that's really cool." I was like, "It is." I was like, "I'm to be honest, I'm piggybacking off Brittany. She's got a huge following, but a lot of people just tune in for her. But it's great. We do it every week. We've got like probably nearly 40 episodes." And he was like, "Oh, that's so cool." And it's interesting when you do something, you think it's like pretty awesome. When you tell someone, you're like, "Oh, actually, it is really cool." And you see their reaction, and they're like, "No way, you do that." And I'm like, "Yeah, I do that." And it's another episode. It's another example of like, I don't think I would have had a popular YouTube, a popular YouTube channel or podcast if I hadn't have become injured. I guess that's part of my life now, and it's something I really enjoy and really value.
Yeah. I also think it's like we just do this. Like I was trying to get Joe to come on the other day, and I was like, "Are you gonna come? Like, just come say hi on the podcast." And he was like, "No, that's your thing." And I don't even think about it anymore. Like I literally just feel like I'm on a Zoom call with a friend, and I just like chat. It's not even a big deal. And then I get to like see other people that I know, or like because I do have a couple of friends. Like Travis is pretty much always here. So I get to see like friends in the comments and people that are like loyal subscribers and stuff. So it's just fun. It's like I get to do this live thing and it doesn't stress me out at all anymore. It would have stressed me out so much at the beginning. Just going live at all like made me want to puke. But to other people that is stressful. So the things that we're just like, oh, it's no big deal. It's so chill. Other people were like, oh my God, no way, I can't do it.
I think we've definitely got a lot more confident about it. Like, for example, me, like before I was like making sure like everything was like the lights were right and everything. And I just like nervous, like having bullet points to write down. And now I'm just like buzzing back, like, whip up the computer, let's go. And it's just interesting how, I feel like it's something that we've got quite good at. And it's something that, again, you forget, like the first time you suggested doing it live, I was like, live? Are you kidding me? Like, what if we say something idiotic?
The first time I ever did a live was, I think to celebrate having like 1,000 subscribers, and it was really fun. And I didn't even prepare anything. I was like, I didn't even think anybody would show up. And I think like 37 or something like that people showed up, and they just asked a string of questions for like 2 hours. It was crazy. And I was like, oh my God, that was so much fun. So now I like just being live, and it also gives you content that you don't have to edit. It's like it's a selfishly another great thing.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I recorded a podcast with Benji about his ayahuasca ceremony, and I still haven't edited it together. And if we'd have just done it live, it would just be done. That's one of the things I love most about going live, is that you don't have to edit the podcast, which is great.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I know, and it's so great.
Hey, Bruce is one of my Patreons. He said he finally made a live one. How's it going?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to totally like segue into something I did this weekend and ask you a question about trying on clothes as a person in a wheelchair.
Go for it.
Because I mentioned that I went thrifting, and I buy pretty much all of my clothes at like Value Village is our like thrift store here. We have lots of other ones, Goodwill and stuff. But we have a really good selection, because I don't know if people have money where I live, but there is like so many good quality clothes for so cheap. And so I'll buy like, I think we bought like 40 items for like $200 or something, both me and Jamie. And now I have all these pants to try on, and I friggin' hate it so much. I hate trying on clothes in a wheelchair, and you can never really tell just by like how the cut of the pants is, especially with girls' clothes, because the jeans are made so vastly different. I feel like a guy's jeans is like, they're all pretty much made the same. But girls' jeans are high-waisted, low-waisted. They're like mom jean type things, or they have just all kinds of like differences. And I'll think I find a good pair of pants, and then I'll just buy the same brand, and then they change it a little bit. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's so annoying. So I wanted to ask about that. Do you buy clothes often? If you do you try them on like at the store? Do you take them home? What's your like method for clothes shopping? Do you do it online?
Great question. And I definitely think that like it must be different for men and women, because I can try the trousers on in the shop, because I can just wheel into the changing room and I can just put them on. And normally, to be honest, I haven't bought a new pair of trousers in ages. Like, I'm a bit gross. Like, I kind of wear my trousers quite a lot, but like they don't get dirty or anything. Like, I don't I don't sweat that much. So, but I just have some Decathlon trousers, and they have like, basically the things I look for is no buttons or like things that I can sit on, so no button pockets at the back, and pockets that are like have zips, so they can, and I've got zips here. And I do just try stuff on in the shop. I just go, do you not try things on in the shop?
I normally do, but the during COVID, the Value Village thrift shop that I go to, they took out their change rooms. And I was like, it's so annoying that you took out the change rooms, because for one, they don't give you refunds. You can only do exchanges. So like, say I'll buy like $200 worth of stuff, none of it fits. I just get store credit. So I have to buy another $200 worth of stuff and then try it on. And eventually I will find stuff that fits. So I don't mind doing it, but it's such a pain in the ass to have to come home with all the clothes, try them on, take them back. So it's really annoying, but it's worth the pain in the butt to do that, to save like hundreds of dollars, because, one pair of jeans, like that I like, the brand name that I like, it'll be like $180, and they're like $20 at Value Village, and they're still like just almost brand new. So I like saving money that way. But it's a pain in the ass. So I have to like try them all on, see if they fit. And then because I have the zipper in the crotch of my pants in order to pee, I have to take them to the seamstress after I've tried them all on, and then pay another like $17, which is why I buy primarily only used clothes, because I know I have to go put the zipper in. So I'm paying another $17 per each pair of pants to get the zipper put in the crotch. It's just such a pain in the butt. But yeah, I was just curious what your process was like. And I do wear my pants. I wear my clothes like 3 days in a row usually.
Oh yeah, I'm way more gross than that. Like the thing is, I don't sweat that much, right? So in fact, my socks. Okay, this is gonna. I don't know how people are gonna react to this. I bought some socks for Christmas. My feet don't sweat, right? And they're merino socks. They're really, really nice, and I wear them most days. And it's now the 24th of February, and I haven't washed them since Christmas. But my feet don't sweat, and their socks don't smell. Like, so you don't wash your shoes. My feet do
sweat. Oh my god, I would. Oh, my feet. No, my feet sweat, and my feet stink if I wear like my socks too long. So I can wear my socks for like the 3 days that I normally wear my clothes, and they like aren't bad or anything. It's just, yeah. And I mostly, because I'm like cooking and stuff, that's how my pants get dirty. And my shirts get dirty because I wheel around, and if I'm like wheeling with like a cup in my hand and I like need to slow myself down, I slow myself down on my wheel, and then my elbows get all dirty and stuff. So it's never really like sweat or anything. But oh my god, we're smelling the socks. Okay, we put it up to the camera.
This is the sock in question. This is
the
sock in question.
That's like
it doesn't
2
smell
months.
at all.
I
know it's so gross, but like it doesn't smell at all. It's like it's a merino sock. Like it's a moisture wicking merino sock.
Oh my god. Okay, well you should. Merino? Is it like, okay, what is this brand of sock that doesn't smell? I'm gonna test it out.
Merino is a type of wool. It's from a merino sheep. So merino wool is like a moisture wicking type of woolen sock. So yeah, this is the sock in question. But no, it's fine. I know it sounds gross, but like if like I'm not a gross person. I know when I smell. I know when I need to take a shower. And I don't get me wrong, I change my pants every day because I like there are parts of my body that do sweat. So I know what and this is the sock in question. Yeah. And look, if it stunk, I wouldn't be able to put it up to my face like that. So yeah,
that's so funny. I think like my kids change their clothes every day, and it drives me insane. Like when I was in school, I wore my jeans at least twice because I did not have the amount of clothes that my kids have. I had 3 pairs of pants and like 5 shirts. That was it. Like my mom, like they didn't have lots of money, so that's what I had. And I got like, decently nice clothes, but my mom's like, I'm not buying you 7 pairs of $100 jeans. Like that's just not going to happen. So you get 1 pair and you can wash it as often as you need to. And so I would wear my jeans. I would switch them out just so that I didn't wear them to school 2 days in a row because I thought somebody would notice. So I would wear like my pair of jeans with a shirt. Then I would wear another one, but I only washed them about like once a week. And my kids, it drives me crazy. And Joe wears his clothes for at least 2 days because he's not a sweaty guy either. And I wear mine for like 3 days. And yeah, the laundry that my kids make compared to me and Joe is crazy. I'm like, what is wrong with you guys? You don't need to, you don't need new clothes every day.
Yeah, I get you. Like so there's a YouTuber called Matt Diavella. Have you heard of him? He's a very popular guy. He's millions of subscribers. He's a very cool guy. He's into minimalism and he used to make videos about minimalism. And he says he never washes his jeans because apparently you don't have to wash jeans. There's also
I remember that guy. He was like people were talking about him for a while because he said that.
Yeah. There's also a guy called Johnny Harris who's a very, very popular YouTuber. He says he never washes his hair. You know, he's like, shampoo is a scam. So Matt D'Avella never washes his jeans. Johnny Harris never washes his hair. I don't launder my clothes as much as as little as possible. When they smell, I put them in the wash. But I feel like the clothes that I wear, the more I put them in the wash, the quicker they run out. Like they can shrink sometimes, and like they fit well. If they don't smell, I'm going to just hang that up and wear it another day. You know, like it doesn't bother me one bit. I'm not the sort of person that like, I think like putting them through the wash, that just wears them out. Like wearing them doesn't wear them out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The hair thing is really funny because Jacob, he had like pretty long hair for a while and he never washed his hair. He always just like wet it in the shower, and his hair was never greasy or gross or smelly or anything. And he saw some guy that said you don't need to use shampoo, and I still don't think he
Probably
washes
Johnny
his hair.
Harris.
Which is crazy because I was like, you need to wash your hair, but Jamie has very long hair like me, and if she doesn't wash her hair, it starts to smell, but she's always washed it, right? And so I'm wondering if it's like, because there was like a no poo, no shampoo, no poo thing that I tried doing where you don't use shampoo, anything that lathers, and my hair did get used to it. I used like apple cider vinegar and like some other stuff. And it was fine. Like my hair was never gross. So I think your hair just has to get used to not being washed. Because realistically, we didn't wash our hair almost ever, like maybe 3 times a year in the, like 1600s, because we just didn't have access to enough water. So we would bath our like, important parts like armpits and stuff that were stinky, but people didn't wash their hair.
People didn't wash themselves. Like people stank back in the day, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. But I also think that like natural body odor, it stinks to us now, but it probably didn't stink to people back then. You just get used to it.
Yeah, you're probably right. Actually, you're probably right. Yeah, because it does smell like if you can smell it. It's quite bad. I'm like,
oh, it's so bad.
Yeah, but I guess
it's terrible.
Yeah, I guess the smells that we spray onto ourselves, they're quite unnatural. So.
Yeah, I hate scents like fragrances. Like it gives me a headache. So I never wear perfume, and I have like natural deodorants and stuff. Obviously my skin, it like you can never see it like on the camera very well, but my skin is really red. And I have like all these little like breakout pimple things. It's irritating the shit out of me. So if I put anything on my skin, like fragrance, even shampoo that's like got tons of fragrance in it, my skin just like hates me.
Yeah.
So I have to be really careful.
I wanted to address this comment. Gregory Shilaki, tell us about your diet and fitness, Fredo. Looking dialed, dude. Thank you. That's a very, very kind compliment. I think it's my haircut, actually. To be honest, I had a haircut recently. I've got like a little bit of a mullet, and like it really makes my head look like slender, and I've trimmed my beard down. But anyway, also, I have been working out loads. I worked out loads over the summer. I got like in really good shape. My diet really was just a lot of protein, and I was tracking my calories on a app called MyFitnessPal. I've spoken about it before. I was getting like lots of fiber, lots of protein, and I was just like measuring, so like 1,800 calories a day, and then I just got quite slim, and I was working out with weights 3 times a week, and I was swimming a lot. However, I think recently I've been eating a lot of biscuits at work because I'm in the office and people are like, oh, do you want a coffee? And then there's leftover cake from like Chris's catering gigs. And so it was like really, I've been slacking a little bit, like you can't really tell that much, but like because you don't get your shirt off that much in the winter. So I'm kind of like allowing it. And then I realized that, when the weather becomes warmer, I think I'm going to like kick back into like fitness mode. But I've been also skipping the gym a little bit lately as well. Like I'm really sort of like slacking, but I put in such hard work in the summer. I think it kind of still looks like I'm in great shape, and probably not in bad shape, but
I tried to get Jacob to do your haircut. I was like, his haircut looks so good because he had like long hair, like almost down to his shoulders, and then he wanted it cut because he was getting it like braided in cornrows for his boxing fights and stuff, and it was just annoying to have to go.
I saw that.
To the lady to get his hair braided and stuff. So he cut it and he got like a modern mullet, but I was like, get the whatever your mullet is called. What's it called?
The mullet mohawk fade.
Mullet mohawk. Yeah. I was like, get the mullet mohawk fade. I'm like, it looks so good.
Thank you.
Because it's very like it's like modern, but also like, I don't know, it just like, yeah, you look so tough or something.
Ah,
I don't know how
thank
to
you so
describe it.
much.
You look tough. That's yeah. So I tried to get Jacob to
Yeah.
do it, but he wouldn't. He was like, "No, I'm not doing that." But he did get a modern mullet, which is almost like it's shaved a little bit here, but it's long so that it can kind of like,
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
you know, if they don't want it back, and it's like longer in the back. But yeah, I was like, "All right, whatever. You don't have to get Fred's haircut."
Yeah, it's crazy because I used to have like because I've got curly hair and my mum always said like it looked really great when it was curly. So when it was like curly on the sides, I liked it, especially if I wore a hat and it was curling out the side, but it kind of looked a bit
Yeah.
like a Jew fro. So I kind of like and now ever since I've got this haircut, I've got loads of compliments and I'm like, this is now my new haircut. Like I like having it short at the sides.
Yeah.
It's yeah. You know,
Yeah, I did.
when people compliment you like a lot, you're like, okay, this is how my hair should look because I never normally get this many compliments on my hair. So like, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a good haircut. Like I remember the first day you got it, I was like, you got a haircut.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when people get things that just suit their face, which I think we don't really like take enough time to understand what our face shape is and the shape of our hair and all that, how it influences the way our face looks, because you can almost like make an illusion of looking thinner just by how your hair is cut and all that stuff. But yeah, it's definitely a vibe. So keep that vibe. I like it. I think it's good.
Ah, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I just want to address this comment for a sec. So this is my friend Travis, who's the high level quad that I keep talking about. I want to come watch a fight break. He's talking about like my son's fights. I will absolutely let you know, Travis, when there is a wheelchair accessible location, because they've been really abysmal. Like boxing clubs are in dingy basements and they never have a bathroom. So have been struggling to even get to some of the fights, which is super annoying. So next time I know that there's an accessible location, I'll make sure to get you a ticket and then you can come watch. And then you can joke. We can joke. We can tell all the kids that are just going to go up to the ring, be like, yeah, his last fight. Be careful in there.
You should have seen the other guy.
You should have seen the other guy. Travis would do it probably with me. He'd probably freak some people out.
Yeah.
Just like, don't worry or anything. But, this was from my last fight.
Yeah.
So super
Well, I'll tell
funny.
you what. So Jacob's hair, I noticed it in a couple of your videos, the Christmas one and stuff. He's kind of looking like quite gangster with the cornrows, and I think I saw him. He had a do rag on. I was like, oh,
yeah,
like what? He's like pretty gangster for a white boy.
He got made fun of. Everybody called him. I don't know if anybody watches Shameless, but like White Boy Carl on Shameless, he had like cornrows and. But it's funny because like you don't actually really understand what like a do-rag is for until you have like a hairstyle like that. And then the hairstylist, her son is black, so she's white, her son is black, and she had to learn because her husband was Jamaican and stuff, all of the like braiding and stuff. So she did it, and now she just does it for whoever. But she was like, you need to go get a do-rag. And I'm like, for like, what's that for? And she's like, oh, it's how you protect the braids like at night and stuff. And so yeah, I was like, oh, they're actually like purposeful. They're not just like style things. They're to protect the braids so they don't fall out as much and stuff when you're doing things that the hair might get rubbed or but yeah, he definitely looked gangster. There's a teacher that I teach with that's black, and he was wearing a do-rag the other day, and I was so curious if he like had braids underneath or if he was just wearing it for style, because I wanted to ask him if like if he just ever wears it because he likes the way it looks, or if his hair is messy underneath. But normally they're to protect braids or I can't even remember all the different box braids and different kinds of braids you can get.
That's so interesting. I had no idea. I thought it was just a style choice.
No, yeah, it's that's what I thought too. I thought it was just a style choice, but then I learned so much from the hairstylist, which was it's like a funny thing because he wanted cornrows, and I was so intimidated to go and get them done at like a salon that had primarily like black hairstylists because I didn't want them to be like, cultural appropriation. Like I felt
Yeah,
so
yeah.
weird about it. And then my friend whose daughter has really curly hair naturally, and so she gets her hair braided by this lady. She was like, "Oh, my friend does it." And then I looked and I saw she was white. I was like, "Oh my god!" For some reason that made me feel better, which is stupid. It's so stupid. And I asked her about it. I was like, would they have been mean to me if I would have brought my son there? She's like, no. She's like, they're literally the nicest people in the world. She's like, you go to any salon. She's like, they're
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
but I felt so weird about it. And that's just like, I think I'm so afraid now with like, there's so much that I'm afraid to do as a white person that I think I'm going to offend somebody. And I'm like, I'm just stupid. I'm not racist. I promise. So I was like, it was like, I stressed out way too much about it. Joe's like, I don't know why you're stressing about this. Like, they are not going to care when you go in and you say like, he's got long hair and he has boxing. He just wants to have his hair out of his face. They're going to be like, oh yeah, like, let's fix you up. And I'm just like, oh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was a very weird thing internally.
That's very funny. It's hard to admit this, but I once got cornrows when I was on holiday in Ibiza.
Well,
So
that's when
you
people
know
always
how,
do.
yeah, you know how girls come back with braids. You know,
Yeah.
they come on holiday from Ibiza and they come back with their braids. I got cornrows put in, and I don't know. It was a messy holiday. There was a lot of substances being ingested. But yeah, I had cornrows put in, and it was so painful. My scalp was so tight. And I remember, you know, like how you're I don't know, you're supposed to barter with them. You know, I was like, oh no, I'll do it for this much. I ended up paying her more to take them out. I went back the next day. I was like, this is giving me a massive headache. Like, can you just take them out? And then I had this slanty back afro because like when she took them out, and I just thought it looked quite cool. So I actually went out on a night out without washing it out. It was a really weird, horrible look, but yeah, it was.
Oh my God, that's funny.
I was very young.
How
I had
much did you
cornrows for one
pay?
day.
How much did you pay? Do you remember?
I can't remember, but I do remember bartering, being like, "Oh no, I know what the deal is. You say one price, I say another."
Yeah.
And then I went back the next day. I was just like, whatever it was, I was just like, I'll give you it just to take them out. I just want that. I'm done with them. My head hurts.
So I remember when we went to Mexico, Jamie got like braids. And I think we paid $80 and it took the girl maybe 20 minutes. Like she was so fast. The girl that does Jacob's hair, she charges $25. That's it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I'm like, you have to charge more. She charges like for a full head that will take like 6 hours. She charges like $100. I'm like, you are not making any money at this, but she just likes to do it. Like she has a full-time job. So she just does it like after work and stuff. I'm like, you got to make more money than this. She's like, I can't justify charging more than $25 for something that takes me 40 minutes. And I'm like, why not? I'm like, if I went to a hair salon just to get Jacob's hair cut for like 10 minutes, it costs $50 sometimes. I'm like, you need to charge more for braiding people's hair. She's such a nice lady though. And she was just like, no, I can't take, no. And I thought maybe it was just me because I'm in a wheelchair and I was like his mom. So I sent him by himself. She still wouldn't charge him really very much. And then I started talking to anybody that they like braids, she does braids for. And that's all she charges. I was like, wow, like you are the nicest lady ever, I guess. But I thought it was crazy because I was expecting to pay like $100 every time.
Yeah.
And instead it was just like $25. So Jacob was just getting it done whenever. It was crazy. But yeah, very cool. I love the hairstyle. So yeah, if you ever have a chance to kind of see what it's like, it's fun. And it doesn't stay in white people hair long though. Like if you have the actual hair for it, that's the proper texture and stuff, it can stay in like 3 weeks to like 3 months. But Jacob's hair was like 2 weeks max. Just we don't have the hair for it. It doesn't stay.
Yeah, fair. And now he's got it cut short, right? So
yeah, it's not totally short, but I just take a picture and like put it up. But yeah, he's got a mullet type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, mullets are cool.
Shorter.
On the subject of saving money, there was this. So, as you know, I'm looking for a new place to live, and we're looking for a 2-bedroom place to rent together.
Yeah.
And it suddenly occurred to me the other day, like the worst case scenario, I say worst case scenario, but it's not that bad, is that Chris lives actually in a wheelchair accessible flat, but it's a lot smaller. And I remember thinking, if we moved in there together, we would save a fortune. I would literally be saving 700 euros a month on rent. And that could add up to like loads. That could add up to savings. That could add up to like more holidays, more, or working less, just, just having so much less overheads, just having and the place is smaller, but I was thinking about like having like every now and then you just have a spring clean of your life and just get rid of loads of shit that you haven't used in ages. And you just shed a load of nonsense and it feels really good. And I thought, oh, you know what? I could do that. And I said that to Chris and she was quite excited as well. She's like, you know what? I'd have to get rid of a lot of stuff if you've moved into my place as well. And we could both just have this big spring clean and move in together. And I think that'd be really cool. And we would save a fortune. And I was just thinking, all of a sudden, like instead of it being the worst case scenario, it could be like quite an exciting time of our life where we could put money in a pot towards our dream home and just have like just move into a little place. And my girlfriend lives in a wheelchair accessible place, which is dog friendly. So, it kind of ticks the box that we want it to tick, really.
Well, it's so hard to make those choices between what you want and what you actually need. But I think ultimately, like if you can live in a smaller place, because there's so much shit that we really don't need. I have literally all those books back there. I've read them all. I could just that whole bookshelf could be gone and I would not even know the difference. It would be like crazy. Half the shit on my desk could be gone. Half the shit in my house could be gone and I wouldn't even know the difference. And I think we don't think about that enough. It's like this acreage that Joe wants to buy too. We have to make that. I have to do this same analysis that you just did with what is it that we ultimately want and what's ticking those boxes, because Joe really wants an acreage. But I'm like, do we have time for an acreage? The money that we would be spending to get into a bigger mortgage to get an acreage, is it worth not having the extra money that we have now to do things like holidays and all that stuff? So it's it's like a dream that we've had to live in the country. And Joe's like, if we don't do it now, when are we ever going to try it? So it's so hard. It's so hard to know whether, living smaller and having more money is important or getting bigger things is important. It's so confusing, but I think that is a good choice for you guys. If the stuff doesn't matter and the money would allow you guys to buy a house or take more holidays, then I think that's probably the right choice for you.
Yeah, it's like when you say about the books, it's really interesting. I've got books on my bookshelf, haven't picked up in 5 years since I lived here, but I'm attached to them weirdly because I read them once and they hit me in the right spot. And I was like, oh, I like that book. I'm like, yeah, but I don't need to keep hold of it for 5 years. It's just on the shelf. I literally haven't touched it. So yeah, there was a lot of things that I could downgrade. A question for you though, this acreage, don't you already have an acreage? And is your plan to move and live on there or just have it as a holiday home?
So the idea, this is an acreage near town that we just found. And we would sell the other acreage because the other acreage is an hour and a half from where we live. And it's just a weekend recreational thing. The idea originally for the old acreage was to build a cabin on it that was wheelchair accessible and rent it out so that people could kind of camp in a wheelchair accessible place that was in nature. But then I didn't check the zoning before we bought the acreage and you can't do that. So there's no short-term rentals on it. So we can't do that. So then we were just going to use it as a camping spot and then eventually build a house on it and sell the whole land and the house and everything. So then we found this acreage. So Joe's like, well, we can sell the other acreage and the money we get from that acreage we'll use for the new acreage. And it's a beautiful acreage. It's right by a really nice lake that's close to us. It's only 10 minutes from where we currently live. It would be a good investment because it's really close to town. It's got some hills and, the house is a bungalow, a walkout bungalow. So it's accessible on the top level. And if I got a lift, I could wheel out to the, if we built a deck on the bottom or a patio. And then it's got another house on it. So it's got a 4-bedroom house on it and then one bedroom house on it. So if we wanted to rent out the other house on it, we could make some income that way. So we still have to go look at the acreage. It's just very intimidating to me to live on 40 acres. It's 40 acres of land. Because that's a lot of work. And when you live out there, you know, you have to get something to plow the driveway, and your kids have to take the bus, and I have to drive into town. It's only 10 minutes. I still have to drive into town to get groceries and stuff. There's no place for me in the wintertime at all to like, not that I wheel outside here at all in the wintertime, but
Yeah.
there's like no sidewalks or anything out there. So it would just be my land. So I couldn't just go for a walk. Like if I wanted to get out in the summertime and go for a bike ride, like with Jamie, there would be nowhere to bike for me really, other than on like the country roads. And it's right off of like a main busy one. Like it's not off of like a quiet road. So there's just a lot of things that are intimidating me about it, and how it might affect my life. But I also don't want to be like, you know, Joe has wanted to live on an acreage forever. And it's the one that I said, I keep telling him I will live on an acreage if we can get one this many kilometers from town. And it's basically like hits all the boxes. So I feel like if I say no, because I don't want to have, you know, some of the like headaches, but it might ultimately, like you say, be the dream. And it might be something that I fall in love with, because I've always wanted to have like chickens and things like that. So I'm very confused about it. And we still have to go look at the house. So it might not even be worth it. But yeah, it's just whether the increasing the mortgage payments and, you know, getting into something like that ultimately, which would be like an investment because it's really close to town and the land would appreciate, is good, or whether we should just keep our current house, pay off our mortgage, and live smaller kind of thing. That's the choice.
Yeah. So why couldn't you live on the one that you've got at the moment? Too far out?
It's an hour and a half away. Yeah. Joe would have to drive Joe would have to drive an hour and a half to work, and it's just too far.
Right.
We originally bought it, like it's close to his parents, the lake that they live on. So that's why we bought it down there, because we were originally just going to use it as a recreational property. And the idea was that it was a stepping stone to the ultimate dream, which is to get lots of land. So the one we have is like an acre and a half, which is small land. And this one is big land. Like it's a lot of land.
Cool.
So you can have like animals, and you can, you know, like quad and ATV, and just, you can do things. You can, yeah. And you're not looking at your neighbor and stuff. So I don't know. It's just,
Yeah, it sounds cool. Like 40 acres is awesome. Like when you say there's nowhere to bike, could you just not bike around your own land? You could just build your own skate park.
You totally could. And that's the thing that like, that's what you have to commit to building the dream there. You know what I mean? Like you have to commit to being like, this is the dream. The house is there, the land is there. And like, how do you make the land amazing? It would be very cool to like do a bunch of YouTube videos on it, like moving and like making the house our own, and me trying to like raise chickens or whatever, which is like I've always wanted to do. I always like wanted to be like, can I be like a homesteader in a wheelchair? But then I have like all these fears about like being dirty all the time, and I'm like, oh my god, like it was. So yeah, there's like all these things that like are like bombarding my brain, but also are they just things that I'm like making excuses about that aren't really that hard, that I just would have to figure out? I don't really know. But
yeah, that is interesting. Well, I don't know. I think yes, it's your decision. I guess you'd have to weigh up the pros and cons. It does sound really cool though to move to a big place like that with lots of land. It sounds like almost like the dream, but a dream that involves a lot of hard work, a lot of commitment, and yeah. But then it's also a labor of love. You know, working on your own land is quite cool. But then what can you do? Like I've been thinking about this as well. Like a lot of our friends have been buying fixer-uppers. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing if you can get up a ladder, you know, like,
yeah, exactly.
I'd have to pay someone to fix it up, which would be, you know, not like the most financial savvy investment, you know. So, but I would like to, I'm a little bit envious of my friends that buy fixer uppers, you know, and sort of get them. Yeah, it's nice. And I'd love to own my own home. I think that's why I think this little stepping stone for Chris and I would be quite cool. In fact, James made a good comment. I'm going to put it up here. Some people feel in a relationship that you should both live in a new neutral place. And I really feel you on this, James. Like this is one of the things that we considered immensely. That's why we were going to get our own place rather than like me move in with Chris's place. But we've just been getting on so well recently. And we're thinking about having, like, I spoke to Benji about having like very honest conversations, like before you move in together, setting expectations, you know, how many weeks days a week are you going to cook? How many days a week am I going to cook? You know, how many even like how many times a week do you want to, you know, have sex and stuff like that? Like all these like really things that you wouldn't think to, you know, bring up, but are quite important. And but when Benji said that to me, I was like, yeah, that is a good quest. That's a good conversation to have, you know, before you move in together. And I think we could make it work. But I am aware of that. Like a neutral place is more like ours, whereas like I'm moving into hers. There could be a dynamic that would be undesirable. But yeah, we'll navigate it.
I think understanding that it's a stepping stone to the ultimate like together dream, like to buy a house that is yours, that you guys look for together. That is, I think that's worth living together in a smaller place and downsizing and saving the money and all that stuff. Because I have my own home, and it's awesome to be able to have something that's yours. Even if it's not perfect, like you're never going to find something perfect in a wheelchair, but I think that that's great. And knowing that like Joe and I bought this house together and it's our house, it's not like, you know, because at first he moved in with me, and yeah, like you said, there's always like little weird dynamics that exist when that happens. But I think it's a great stepping stone to the ultimate, you know, together property.
Yeah. Also, there's another thing I wanted to talk about as well, which was Chris had something happen to her the other day. So she went to do a catering gig. So I'll give you a little bit of background. This season, she's doing a managerial role for a company, and she's not really enjoying it that much. It's quite stressful. But before, she was doing private catering. So she would go around and cook people meals that were on holiday. She would like provide a catered service for people in self-catered accommodation, a private chef for hire, basically. And she went to do a one-off gig the other day, and she made 900 euros in one night, which is half of her month's wages, right? They were wildly affluent. They had this big place up in a place called the Grand Tersh, and this guy has his own Wikipedia page. He's like an entrepreneur, whatever. And the guy who, like the intermediary that introduced them, he said, "Oh, by the way, Chris, it's half-term week. These guys can't find anyone. I would jack your prices up a little bit, you know, because, you know, supply and demand." So she put her prices up a little bit. And on top of putting up her prices up a little bit, they also gave her a 150 euro tip for one evening of catering. So she was stoked. She was like buzzing. She was like high on money. She came back, like she sent me a beautiful voice note, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so stoked for you. I'm really, really thrilled," because I know how stressful her job has been. But she also sent a voice note to the group chat. She is group chat with like 4 different girls, like all friends of hers. And 2 of the girls are like, "That's amazing, Chris. How brilliant is it? I'm so happy for you." 2 of the girls reacted really negatively, like, "Oh, you know, like, why would you brag about having loads of money when you know that we're hard up for money?" And I just thought,
oh yeah,
I get it. Like it's like some, you know, one of them's just had a baby, so like you can say that she's probably like a little bit sleep deprived and possibly like, I don't know, a little bit maybe jealous. And the other person is generally quite negative. Like if you complain on the group chat, she will like complain with you. But if you celebrate a win, she's very like, you know. And she was really upset. Chris was really upset. She was like, "These are my friends, man. Like I wasn't trying to brag or rub it in. I was just like, I just made 900. I just made half my month's wages in one night, cash as well. I just wanted to tell my friends, you know, and I wanted them to be happy for me." And she thought it really sucked that they weren't happy for her. And I just wanted to bring it up with you and sort of like, I don't know, maybe you could offer some sort of different perspective. I thought it sucked. Like I genuinely thought it sucked. I thought they should be really happy for her, but so, you know, 50% of the group chat, you know, were kind of jealous.
Yeah. I think it's natural to feel jealous. I think it's very like being a terrible friend if you express your jealousy when they are genuinely happy about something. Because if somebody that you're genuinely happy or genuinely friends with is happy about something that is going great in their life, you should want that. Like there is never a time that I'm friends with somebody. There are times that like I'll be like, "Oh," like you get that like tinge of like envy where you're like, "Ooh, I want something that they have." But envy is like fine in that it kind of pushes you usually to either strive for what they have, but like treating people differently because of that envy is terrible, because that's like leveling. That's like, you should, don't tell me about your thing. My thing's shit. You should be where I am. And I think that that's like, it's so sad. So I'm totally on the side of Chris. Like, I think that those are terrible friends. I would be like, dude, you are not even like a good friend. Because then why would Chris want to celebrate when they're doing well? Do you know what I mean? Like, they obviously, one of them had a baby. Did Chris be like, don't talk about your baby? I don't have one.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
never.
She was really quite upset about it. And because also it's not like, you know, I live a great life. She's got a very, very stressful job. She was like, you know, last year I was catering, and even when she does that catering, she earns like a lot of money, but she has to pay a lot of tax, because in France you have to pay a lot of tax. And also she got paid cash, which is, you know,
yeah,
it's not as if you're going to be like, hey, I just got a load of cash, you know? Like,
yeah.
So it's an even bigger bonus, you know. It's like 40% basically for free,
Yeah.
you know, because it's cash. So I don't know. She works a lot. She's really stressed. She just got to win. It just celebrate it, you know, like,
exactly.
have my back, you know, like, and that means now, like, every time something similar happens, she'll think, oh, well, I can't really share that on the group chat in case, you know, someone gets butthurt about it.
I think that's stupid. It's not like it, maybe if like she had like, you know, won like $900 on a lottery ticket or something and then told her friends, because that's not like something she worked for, and maybe that would just be like, I'm lucky you're not, kind of thing. So maybe something like that, but that's not what it is. She worked her ass off for it. It was like a job that she, you know, got, and she got paid well for it. So it's such a weird thing that people act like they act poorly when they feel something bad inside. I think that's just stupid, because you can feel badly all you want. Like, there's plenty of times that I felt intimidated by other people's success, but I would never. In fact, there was a point that I was comparing myself so much to other people on social media and feeling so envious and so intimidated by their success that I was like, I have to switch the way I'm thinking about this. So the minute I felt something negative, I made myself put a positive comment under the thing that was making me feel intimidated. So like, if I was like looking at my cousin, for example, who's got like an interior design business, and she's in a wheelchair and she has a very successful business, and she's a speaker, has a speaking career and stuff. When she first started that stuff, I was like, oh my God, I'm terrible, because her success meant like I was somehow like terrible. And then I was just like, I don't know why I'm feeling so intimidated by this. And every single time I saw something great that she was doing, I made a point of being like, I'm so proud of you. This is amazing. Like, you're such a great person for me to look up to, and like a great role model. And so I would find like great things about that. And I think that like we all should do that when we feel intimidated or envious, because then we teach our brain how to see the positive thing on it instead of like the thing that makes us feel bad.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah. Like, so Benji recently came into like a lot of money because one of his relatives died, and I was so stoked for him. Like, I wasn't like jealous at all. Well, in a way I was a little bit like, wow, that's really cool. But it was interesting hearing him tell me how the extra money made him feel. Imagine inheriting like a fairly sizable chunk of money and then being like, yeah, man, I've worried about money like quite a lot, and now I've got a lot of it. I kind of don't feel as happy as I thought I would. I thought it'd be like, oh, amazing. Like, you know, I don't have to worry about, you know, the price of groceries. But it's just like, it's kind of weird. It's like, it's not as, and I wasn't like, oh, fucking sucks. You know, can't believe you fucking rubbing it in, man. Like, you just got, he was just explaining it to me in a very weird, like very, very honest way. But like, you know, I just got a load of money, and you know what? You always think that like loads of money is going to make you happy, and it kind of just a very dull feeling of like, oh, nothing's really changed. Like, you've got more numbers on a screen, but like, yeah, I could buy more stuff if I wanted to, but like, why My life's kind of
Yeah.
it was really weird. And I remember thinking, oh shit, I wonder if that would happen to me. And I'm like, of course it would happen to you, because it's one of those unteachable lessons that Chris William was on about.
Exactly.
Money won't make you happy. Like as much as you like, no, I'm the exception to the rule. Money will make me happy. It won't. Life will still kick you in the dick, even if you've got loads of money.
Totally. I think that's the thing. Like you have to be able to be genuine with your friends. Like you have to be able to talk about whatever you want. And that's all Benji was doing, was just saying like, here's my feelings about this, and not trying to make you feel bad or good or anything, just being honest. And if you can't do that with your friends, then what are they there for?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I have to go because I have to pee so bad. And
Okay.
I'm gonna my bladder's gonna explode. So I can't hang on for the next 10 minutes, but I'll try and drink less. My mornings are so bad because I drink so much water in the morning, and then always in the middle of the podcast, I'm like, oh my God, I have to pee, and I can't just cath like you. So I do
All
have
right.
to go.
Yeah, you're right. Well, before we go, do you remember last week we did a magic trick?
Oh, let's do that. Yeah.
And people seem to really like it. So I've got my notes app on my phone here, right?
Okay.
So if you open up the notes, you can like type stuff. Have you got an iPhone? Do you know how it works?
Yes, I don't have an iPhone, but I have a Samsung.
But you can also draw stuff.
I can't do that on mine, but
okay. Well, listen, look, I'm gonna draw like a square.
okay.
I want you to think of a playing card.
Okay.
And have you got one?
Yep.
Have you got one?
Yep.
Okay, think of it. Right, okay. I think I know what you're thinking of. Okay. Okay, I'm locked in. It's
not going to be it. There's no way.
So look, I've locked my phone. You can see that my phone's completely locked.
Yeah.
So I couldn't change it if I wanted to.
Okay.
So I'll leave my phone on, so you can't see that. I'm not going to do anything under the screen. What was your card?
2 of diamonds.
The 2 of diamonds.
Yeah.
That's wild. Oh my God.
That can't be. You can't possibly have gotten that.
Look, I'm gonna. Oh, look.
It's not possible.
No, I didn't get it. No.
There's nothing in there.
No, you're right. Sometimes it doesn't work.
Oh, I was like, what? I was like, that was so confusing. There was just
the 2 of diamonds is one of the is the one that I got it. But
now you got it.
That's the worst magic trick ever.
Yeah, it's okay. We can't win them all.
No. You know what? Sometimes you win some, you lose some.
You win some, you lose some. We'll try next time. It's because I'm like.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'll let you go for a wee.
That's okay. Okay, well, we have to end the stream first. So thank you guys so much for watching. We will catch you next week.
Thanks everyone. Appreciate it. Big
Bye.
love. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, that was funny.